Hey everyone, got something new for you this time. So we've got a 1v1 between two up-and-coming players, both above average in the 1100 to 1200 elo range, looking for some feedback on their play. So what we've done is I've casted this game with my buddy Joe, aka WarDaddy, and we've taken a little bit more of a critical eye to it than we have in the past. What you're going to see is some additional analysis in the game and some more time spent on the back end talking about what these guys can take forward, what they can sustain, and what they can improve upon. With that, if you like the format, please throw it in the comments below, and we'll roll on to the replay. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got AeroZeppelin in the north as the Wehrmacht, and then we've got Fredsch in the south as the Americans, who's going airborne right away. So I've got Joe WarDaddy from the Sarge Discord helping me cast. This game was submitted.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate the support. So we've got Fredsch submitted this gameplay, and he asked for a review really focused on what he can do to get better. So we're going to kind of focus on both of these players are relatively new to the game, relatively low game count, relatively just slightly above average elo in the 1100 range. So we're going to focus on what they can do and what they can learn.
Got two Pathfinders out, and he's splitting it up at top and bottom of the map. I don't see mass Pathfinder so much anymore. Maybe it's because they don't play as much, but is that typical now with Americans?
For an airborne start, it's usually I don't think it's surprising, but normally you don't see that with a barracks and a rifle squad build, which is unusual.
That's the order threw me off, but sure it works.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm noticing with AeroZeppelin is he's not setting up a rally point for his tier 2. So those grenadiers, when they spawn, they're just coming straight out of the building and waiting. Using a rally point is a really good way to just get people moving. Fredsch on this side, you can see hasn't connected his cutoff, so he's got this double munitions, and now
not collecting that.
Right, and now he's backtracking. So just whereas AeroZeppelin's immediately got this plus 10 fuel. So worth paying attention to where the heavy resources are and prioritizing them. Right, and you've got, let's see, AeroZeppelin. Right, you can tell he has some games under his belt using grenadiers to lay sandbags to get some cover on the points. That's usually, I see that pretty often early in the game when you have room within the micro tacks to get that done. And we're gonna have our first engagement in here in the center kind of town around the church. Zeppelin making good use of these garrisons.
I was gonna say that was a good use of the building there, and you can kind of tell on the global map. On one side he's very consolidated, but then if you look on blue on Americans, he's pretty spread out. He's got basically top, middle, and bottom. So you're not going to win any engagements, but he's winning the resource battle at the moment. So
yeah, and so
just buy time in the mid.
Yeah, so interesting that Fredsch immediately went for the weapon support center. So he got the rifle squad out. He'd almost be better off getting either another Pathfinder or an engineer. I think early game, an engineer is really helpful for laying mines, detecting mines. He's got the MG here, and it looks like he's trying to get the MG into the church. Meanwhile, Zeppelin also has his own MG. He's going to move up into this town. And a mortar coming out. Both guys keeping their units in cover, right? Pretty smart tactical gameplay here. And then Fredsch is doing a good job on the flanks using his Pathfinder's
I was going to say, Fredsch is winning here, because if it's not the battle, I mean, look at the global map. He's got the 2-star, he's getting his points, he's getting pretty aggressive on that, and he's going to decap that fuel.
Oh, but he loses his MG almost immediately.
Yeah, stand corrected. Yeah.
That's rough.
That's not good.
Right, and so Zeppelin's already at 50 fuel, so now he can tech up Luftwaffe or the Panzer Grenadier headquarters. And he's going to cap the center fuel.
I was going to say, those riflemen are going to beat out the Gren, so you might as well just get on that fuel point to prevent that from getting decapped. There's no reason not to. I guess he'll get double teamed here soon, but you could have bought a little bit of time.
Yeah, I wonder, the Pathfinder is a good flank between the mortar to force off this MG.
Pushed him off.
If he gets this MG42, it'll be worth it. There it is. And it looks like he's going to, at some point, hopefully grab this MG42. It's a much better machine gun than anything the Americans
Oh
get.
yeah.
Interesting. Zeppelin, yep, there he goes. He's got it. Zeppelin's going for Luftwaffe, and it looks like he's going to drop some Fallschirmpios in. So, battle of two airborne forces here.
What do you think about doing Fallschirmpio this at 5 minutes? Typically, it seems like area denial as opposed to responding. It could be a good idea. I don't see it at this timing usually.
Yeah, it's a little late. I understand. Like, there's no reason if you just decide
you want
like,
to be
this is what I
aggressive with
need.
this one.
Yeah. So they're good infantry and they have a lot of utility. They have yet less utility the later the game goes. And so I think you're right. It's like, you know, if you're gonna go Luftwaffe, maybe you just wait until you get the Fallschirmjägers out. And he's got him here in the middle, but he's not actively using them, which is interesting.
Holding that fuel point.
Mm-hmm. But right now, Fredsch has a massive resource advantage, doing a really good job harassing on the flanks with the Pathfinder.
And manpower-wise, after that MG take.
Yeah, they traded MGs, but if you're the American, you'll take that any day. Oh, the satchel comes out.
One nitpicky thing, this MG's been full health at base for some time now. It just started moving. It's been about 30 seconds, so you can get that thing in position.
As our boy Fox would say, just back there eating hot chow.
Yeah.
Go straight for the bazookas on this this Paris squad.
Timing-wise, at 6 minutes, not bad. He wants to make great grenade.
Yeah. So a little bit slow on the reaction from Zeppelin, and you see when he realizes it, his response is just to retreat.
Yeah.
I think that's probably fair. If you realize it too late, right, then just immediately retreating is reasonably safe. That grenade's gonna it's the cooked grenade
probably
for the
saved
Paris.
a few models by doing that damage modifier, right? When you have the flag up, you take less.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, generally you don't want to be doing it that late.
So then you
he lost 2 models on that grenade, which is not terrible for how center
the
it was.
Grenadiers are relatively low health, so I think that's reasonable. So he's going for a medic half track up here. Fredsch is. He went infantry support center, got the captain out. Meanwhile, it looks like we're going to see Luftwaffe company, so Jaegers and Whirlwinds from AeroZeppelin. Another grenade. And that's going to do, clear another machine gun. Nice. Well done.
Think he's going to try and take it?
I think so. Yep. It's risky, though, because there's a lot of infantry behind him.
That's a risky retreat. An expensive unit to lose, hopefully. He gets out.
They got to fully pack
it just
up.
grinds, I guess.
Yeah, and paratroopers are pretty hardy infantry.
Wow.
Oh, and they are just going to escape.
This is not looking fantastic for AeroZeppelin.
He's got good fuel income, and he's got a fair amount of manpower. You know, he still has to do the upgrade to get access to the Whirlwind, but he could get some Jaegers out here, which is what he's going to do. If I were him, I'd really be worried about light vehicles from the USF. We're at the 8-minute mark. Fredsch is floating 120 fuel. This is normally where you'll see, like 6 to 7 minute mark, you'll see a Greyhound. And so you would hope to have some AT out. It looks like Fredsch is gonna push for tier 4.
Right to tier 4. Okay, got a Jaeger out.
Yeah. Fredsch doing a good job playing wide. He's got some spare capping power on the west side of the map. Could be capping up this VP to keep the additional pressure on.
Yeah, he's really using those Pathfinders well. He's playing wide, like you're saying.
Yeah. So, one thing both of these guys could be doing with their mortars, call in a barrage and then queue up a move order, right? So literally as soon as the barrage completes, the mortar picks up and moves, and that'll help protect you against counter battery fire. Another Jaeger coming out from Zeppelin.
Jaeger.
These Jaegers are just gonna bleed manpower here. And they're gonna retreat. Lots of indirect coming in.
See, I'm not sure at that moment. I know typically you want to have some AT out for light vehicles, but in this situation, he's so overwhelmed, like MG-wise. I, as the American, wouldn't do light vehicles because I just don't need to control their infantry. I would just probably skip a tier and go for it. So if you're doing Jaeger, you probably want like the scoped rifles on them or something, because those missiles aren't being utilized at the moment. You got nothing.
Yeah, but with this much of a fuel deficit for this long, like you can't bank on, and that's the problem with the Luftwaffe company headquarters, right? Is your AT is a martyr, which also requires fuel.
Cool. Yeah. The laser P4.
Yeah. So Fredsch, it looks like he's building his tank depot, so you can expect a Sherman to come out relatively soon. If I were him, I'd definitely go for a bulldozer. Don't expect the Axis player to have a lot of vehicles anytime soon. Plus, you've got 2 squads of pairs with Zooks, so he's prepared to deal with any of the vehicles that come out at this point. Zeppelin getting some space back on the flank here on the east side.
Our front line fails. 250 points remain for us.
So lots of... Go ahead. What do you got?
See on that top side, those Grens decapping the munis?
Mm-hmm.
What I would probably do is focus on the cutoff, but I do see how they connect anyway. So if it's muni then cutoff, and that's what he's intending, that'd be a good play.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Now
On the map.
It depends on the map. Now, with playing against airborne, you probably want the munis more for yourself because they have that supply run, and the airborne battle group is literally never hurting for munitions. So in my mind, it doesn't make sense to focus on cutting them off because you're still not really hurting your opponent. So I think going for the capping the plus 16 first makes more sense in this case. So this is if you look over at the half track here, this is why I like to get an engineer out early. This half track is kind of beat up and he's got no mechanism to heal it. Captain getting kind of pushed off in the northwest here by the Jaegers. The Jaegers are deceptive because even with the Shreks, they have fairly good anti-infantry.
It's one Shrek, right? And 5 models.
Yep.
Yeah,
so 4 G43s. Now, Fredsch has been he's done a good job using his grenades to kind of turn these engagements for him. And so he's going to force these Jaegers off. And see, there you go. There's the Recce Packers on the other Jaeger squad. So Aero's listening to you for sure. But they're going to end up retreating when the MG42 shows up. Got 2 MG42s for Fredsch.
Doing a good job on top, decapping, staying aggressive, a little slow on switching with those Grens, but it's the right idea when you're shifting from their strength point. Like, you know all their units are in that bottom side. You might as well not lose resources at the same time.
Yeah. You know, Grenadiers are tricky, right? Their strength is in their utility and their ability to merge with other squads. They're as mainline infantry, especially as the game scales. Oh, watch this satchel. Ooh.
Uh-oh.
And those paras.
Good chase. Think he's gonna get him? I don't know.
It should, but oh. Wow.
He chased him. He did everything he could do.
Wow. He played that right. He really did. With the other para squad, he's gonna decrease this mortar. First Werble coming out for Zeppelin, so at the 14-minute mark basically. But other than the Zook squads, or the Zook paras, there's not a ton of AT on the field for the Americans. So this Werble, if it's used right, could hit things pretty hard. That said, Fredsch does have really good map control.
The enemy has cut us off. We have territory out of
AeroZeppelin.
supply.
Finally. Oh, see that cut off? That was a good move.
Yep, right. So now those double muni points are gonna do nothing for him.
Oh.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So that's a good example of like when to really die for that cutoff. That cutoff, he cuts off a lot of resources.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
There goes 32 munis and
here's the Werble.
That should do well. Yeah, like you're saying, they've got 2 Zook squads or the airborne, but since they're not together, they're not a big threat.
And he's doing a good job supporting with the Jaegers and the Grenadiers. So he's going to bleed these paras.
Yeah, not cheap.
Yeah.
How long is he going to chase?
He's going to continue to run it down.
Yeah.
And, you know, no engineers on the field. You don't really have to worry about mines. It looks like he's going to stop. His Fallschirmpeil is in the middle. Bleeding a lot of health, but not a lot of manpower. And the Warble's going to come over to support them. This is insane. Each one of those models has got to have like 3 health. Which I feel like is my experience every time I play against the Axis.
He has been fighting at this point. Kind of just... I feel like you should be a little bit more aggressive before taking the resource, because you're at an elevation disadvantage there. You might as well just push them out and then back cap it. Because I think he took a lot of damage by just kind of standing his ground.
He did clear that Pathfinder squad, though.
Oh, he lost one? I missed it.
Yeah. So this Whirlwind is doing work, actually.
Change the game.
Now here's a Hellcat out for Fredsch. Forces off the mortar, but Hellcat's on the way up to counter. Oh, the captain's going to take some damage.
Other set of Pathfinders.
Oh, he lost the other Pathfinders?
It's like it.
Yeah. We got this large engagement in the middle still. The Whirlwind's going to back off. And then on the side here, you've got Paras versus Jaegers. The Paras with the Zooks against Jaegers with G43s. Paras should not win this one.
We've got 3 models so far. They might.
Once if they use a grenade, they could turn this. And the Whirlwind's going to come in to vote here. And these Paras are going to get chewed up. Oh, get out of there,
There's no
man.
reason to stay engaged here. Yeah, you should retreat as soon as you heard that.
Yeah. And it looks like they're going to get away again with one model. The Whirlwind won't chase. Rifle's in the middle, focusing down these Grens. And it looks like they're probably going to get the wipe here on the Grenadiers.
Ooh. Oh, looks like it. One shot.
There it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Alright. So Arrow drops in the recoilless rifle AT.
One thing that Whirlwind did, it kind of demanded a response to it, where you do the Jackson out instead of the Sherman bulldozer, which would have been a lot more disruptive, which probably helped Arrow out a lot.
Yeah.
Because that Jackson really only does one thing. It just keeps the Warble away.
And so you're right. He's done a good job kind of using it to support infantry engagements, not leaving it out by itself. He microed it fairly well. You think, Fredsch could have had an AT gun out. I know he didn't do motor pull, but he's got access to the AT gun paradrop. Just a little bit more.
Would you have done AT or Jackson in that scenario? I probably would have done AT.
Yeah, I would have had one earlier. The Jackson's a good counter, but ideally you have an AT gun on the field well before that first vehicle shows up. It's one of those things, like, if you're not sure in this game what you need to build next, an AT
he just
gun.
lost the med truck down south in that retreat of the MG. He got a long shot with his, what's that smaller one called? I forget what it is, but he got value out of it instantly.
That dropped AT gun?
Yeah.
The LG-40. Alright, so now the Warble is off on its own. The Fallschirmpeil is going to come in and support.
Can I tell on this cast if he's activating the ability, like that double fire?
He has not. You'd be able to see it.
Hear it. Yeah, that's something that you want to do, especially if you're going against units that can hurt you.
Yeah. But if you think about it, right, Zeppelin's done a really good job working this back. He was under a triple cap for a long time.
He's in a way better scenario than he was earlier.
So this captain might go down to the Jaegers here.
Yeah. Captain's gone. Wow.
So it's possible, right? Expecting that this game was going his way. He lost focus a little bit. Oh my god, these paras. And they just run up on the Warble and get melted.
That's expensive. I wonder if he tried to do a satchel or something.
Oh, here comes a bombing run.
Execute.
But I think Zeppelin noticed it in time, so this is not really going to hit anything. Oh, here's the bulldozer.
Jackson's in danger. He's got AT.
Oh, no.
Jaeger. Ooh, we might take the...
But if
gotta
the
move that
Warble...
Warble quicker.
One more hit.
He should have moved that way sooner. And stop firing. If you turn off fire at will,
yep,
he won't pop up in the fog of war. So he's obviously not visible. But if you keep shooting, he'll take a shot off and kill you. I've been punished by that a number of times.
Yeah, both players back away.
Ooh.
The bulldozer gets the wipe on the mortar. Yep. Now the bulldozer should be able to clear this LG-40, no problem.
Little bounce.
A lot of bouncing shots. That's the problem with light AT. You know, with the new British battle group, you can expect the Australian light AT gun to suffer similar issues. Yeah, this bulldozer is a great counter to Jaegers or Strecks. It's got that extra armor, extra health. It does work. And these Jaegers have no counter. They should not take this fight. Alright, here comes a Stug from Zeppelin, Stug G. Now this will have no problem penning the bulldozer. There you go. I say that, and then of course it bounces the next shot.
Bounces.
He's finally got some engineers out to repair these vehicles. And it looks like he's going to push with these paras against the Stug, which is that's a good engagement to take.
I probably wouldn't have done Stug just based on the fuel expense. I'd rather go for a P4, but I don't know if they have the tech for it. Doesn't work.
Yeah, he's got a ton of manpower, right? And he's dealing with all of these allied infantry. You know, get some more Jaegers out, right? Like the all-around infantry. Get some the Jaegers with Strecks.
Scope rifles, yeah.
Jaegers with, yeah. Fredsch is also floating a lot of fuel. You know, if he doesn't have the upgrades in his ISC, let's see, he doesn't have any of those. That's important. The munition surplus upgrade, and then the logistics upgrade and the survivability. When you have a huge fuel advantage, it just guarantees you're going to win your infantry engagements. Yeah, I would recommend digging into those. There we go. The Warble finally goes down to the Jackson.
That's big.
That
Warble is doing a lot of work.
So this is interesting. So that's why he goes with the Stug. He, instead of going to tier 4, he builds the Panzer Grenadier headquarters, and then he gets a naval warfare out. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good move because none of his issues have been stagnant. All of it's just getting manhandled by their infantry for the most part, and the Sherman,
and
which
with
the Nibbles not going to help again.
With the fuel that he had, you know, I would definitely go for tier 4, a Brumbear or a P4.
Based on the game, how it's gone, I would probably have shot towards double P4s. Good.
Fragmentation run.
Wow.
Still doesn't get the kill. The Jaegers get a wipe on an MG42 on the west side. So Zeppelin's still got some life in him yet.
I mean, second half of the game, he's winning.
Oh, these paras. Oh, and they're gonna get away. Wow.
Something that I used to make a big mistake when I was a younger player, and still do it if I get tilted. When you send all your units back kind of at different timings, you can see all these riflemen on the right side. They're kind of just spread out. You're making a bunch of like non-consequential moves instead of putting your guys together and making something that matters. So I mean, they're not in position. No one's been in position for a long time, so that's something you just gotta change your pace.
Yeah, especially
these riflemen are gonna lose.
Especially when you go for a hard retreat, right?
Yeah, might as well just get everyone together and go out together.
If the MG comes up, forces the issue, and they're going to win that engagement. It looks like he's going to get the double cat back on. This repairing in combat, not super healthy for engineers. Whenever I see engineers repairing, I usually target them because until they're vet 3, they're going to take extra damage.
They're almost dead. Yeah, took 2 shots.
And then interesting that he's been building new riflemen rather than bringing in paras. I feel like you've got the airborne battle group. Get the paras out. They have better health. They get better weapon upgrades, and you can drop them wherever you want.
And at this point, riflemen without bars, they're not going to do that great.
Especially not against Jaegers. Yeah. And they got to get close, and so the Jaegers with the G43s, that's where they're going to really start to beat you up. But paras with 1919s, they deal much better. We got 2 MGs sparring over here, but it looks like
they suppress each other.
Yeah, but with the cap, 2 to basically 0, he decaps the middle. But this one looks like this one's over. All right, everyone. We're back. So, as usual, I'm going to do a little bit of a review of the build order, starting with Fredsch. So, he picked Airborne Battle Group right off the rip, tech for Pathfinders. Got 2 Pathfinders out, started capping. Then he got a barracks out and then a weapons support center. So, he got a rifle squad, then a machine gun, and then he started dropping paratroopers in, upgrading them with bazookas immediately. And then he got a mortar, ISC the captain, and then late game into the Hellcat and a Sherman bulldozer. So kind of an interesting build. Something, I think normally what I see in 1v1s when guys go airborne right away is they use a weapon support center. So you get the Zook squads, the MG, the sniper, the half track if you need it. And normally you rely on your paras for your anti-infantry and your pathfinders for your capping. So to get the rifle squad out, I think is interesting. The play for the mortar is good, right? And I don't want people to be afraid of side tacking. Like the barracks is only 10 fuel, so if you need a mortar, drop that 10 fuel, get a mortar. That's awesome. But even late game, seeing some additional rifle squads come out, and like we were talking about in the cast, the paras are going to scale better. They're going to do better late game right off the bat. So I'd recommend looking at those. For Zeppelin. All right, so he went Luftwaffe a little bit later, right? So he didn't pick it right away, which is what you normally see, which is fine. Totally cool. He started to play kind of a pretty standard Wehrmacht kind of build, Pioneers, MG42s, Grenadiers into the mortar. Then he decided he wanted to go Luftwaffe. He got the Fallschirm Pioneers out. Not a bad idea. They're really durable, a lot of utility. The risk is just that they're a little late at that point. Maybe wait for Fallschirm Jaegers. Depends what you want to do, but that's fine. Then some Jaegers out, one with the Schreck and one with the G43. Good idea. Wirbelwind, still really strong for the Wehrmacht, and then a SargeGG for the anti-tank. So not bad there. The one thing that we also talked about a little bit is he side-teched to the Panzer Grenadier headquarters at Tier 3, but he had the fuel to go for Tier 4. And so I think late game, and Joe, I mean, we were talking about this, late game, the P4 probably better for you than the SargeGG and the Naval Warfare, especially in a 1v1. The Naval can be really hard to micro in a way that makes sense, especially on such a wide map. But that's kind of the build order recap. What would you see for these guys?
Yeah, so I thought they both did a good job. Their play styles were different, which was interesting. So Fredsch did a great job at decapping early, and even late game, he was just played really wide and made sure that no one had resources that weren't contested for long. With that, though, sometimes he would take the bottom and the top, and the units would be sitting there for a little bit, and he really didn't step on it and turn up the aggression because he had the advantage, and I think he could have ended the game a little bit earlier than he did. he allowed AeroZeppelin to claw back, and part of that was AeroZeppelin played really well together, whereas units were supporting each other with the Werble, and he would win these battles fairly decisively because Fredsch forces they were spread out, right? So he would smash them in the middle and then kind of sit there, which is the problem. So if you win that battle decisively, you know they're down 1 or 2 units everywhere else. So you need to pick, say you win middle, bottom, top, wherever, continue that fight, right? Because you're winning. You got 30, 45 seconds to do some more damage, take some more territory. And I didn't see that happen. I think that's what determined the game. And then, yeah, overall, the Werfer or the Nebelwerfer, right? That was likely a macro mistake because it didn't get its value and it was relatively expensive. You'd want to go P4s at that point.
Yeah, and I also think we saw kind of the impact of the length of the game on both of these guys, right? So later in the game, you see
fatigue.
They can't pay attention to everything at the same time. So you see engagements that shouldn't go that way.
It's easy in the first 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're losing everything.
Yeah, and so there's the trick that I heard when you're trying to maintain kind of awareness across the broad map, especially game goes late, is you think about cycling through your units rather than getting zoomed in on one fight. And a lot of guys, you see guys that use the TAC map really well.
Tunnel vision. Yep.
Yeah.
I treat the TAC map like a rear view mirror when I'm driving. You should check it every 5-10 seconds. And I have it on my space bar and it's a click, 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 just to kind of see where everything is because you lose track of it. It's impossible to micro all that.
Yeah. And that keeps you just from losing stuff unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So one thing that I like to do, because it can be really difficult to change a lot of things at once, right? And obviously what your opponents do is going to dictate a lot. So what I want to do for these guys is one thing to watch out for or improve on, and one thing to try to focus on next time for each one of these guys. So I'd say for Fredsch, his ability to spread out the map and maintain pressure early in map control, really good. Sustain that. Please keep doing that. Apart from the build order stuff, I'd say he probably needs to be a little bit more aggressive about anti-tank. I said it in the cast, and I had this itch in the back of my skull. If I don't have an AT gun out,
you're gonna get punished.
Yeah, right.
So, I'd rather not use it for 3 minutes and just get railed. Which happens all the time. Yeah.
So if it's me, Fredsch, as soon as you start floating some manpower, get an AT gun out, you can drop it with the airborne battle group, even if you don't have a motor pool, or get engineers out and start throwing mines down. You don't got to be aggressive with them, but just put them kind of on the roads in the rear area, so that if the whirlwind comes out and it's trying to run down your para squad, it's going to hit a mine, and then you can punish it. Because Zooks feel like AT, but they're a soft counter, and so without an AT gun, without a Chaffee, without a Hellcat, you could get really caught out. And you kind of saw that when the whirlwind hit the field, right? For Zeppelin, so for him, I thought what he did a really, really good job of was when he finally got the Werble out, he supported it. And so it did a lot of damage. He didn't overextend, but he was able to move around the map and really open up the east side of the map and get down, and actually had 2 of the VPs at one point. So it's a really good job reacting there. Good job kind of hanging in. Really if I had to tell him something to improve on, I'd focus on some of the early game infantry micro, losing some engagements. And if you catch this stuff early, then you can soft retreat rather than retreat all the way back to headquarters. So you can see, especially with grenadiers, 2 rifle squads. I'm not going to win this engagement. Let's back up and get to cover, or pull a machine gun in, or pull a mortar in, something like that to kind of change the tide of the engagement, so you don't have to retreat, because that lack of field presence probably is what cost him in terms of resources and VPs.
No, I'm with you. AeroZeppelin plays more like I do, a little bit less aggressive, but you can still do damage. It's just you need to sense, learn when that blood's in the water and pounce on it. And I think that's just turning up the aggression in the way you can play close and still be aggressive and play together and not be necessarily an aggro player. You just need to you can't just give the opponent points or resources. If you want to battle, you need to capitalize on it. And Fretsch, I think it's kind of the same thing. I would tune. He's so aggressive and wide, where I would probably choose 2 points instead of 3, and that way you can kind of shift and use flanks and support your mid, right? So he was 2 disperse. So it was really interesting to see both their play styles together.
Yeah, but both these guys, up and comers. Hopefully, this was useful. Hey, thanks for letting us kind of review your gameplay. Joe, thanks for joining, man. Really appreciate it. I know it's late. Yeah. So that's going to do it for us here. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and we will see you in the next one.